if you are ready to get started, we will let you post yours.
All right. Should share screen, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Let's see. Make sure I have this. Please don't start. That's all right. Making sure it worked. All right. Let's see.
There you go.
Slideshow. Yeah, there it is. Okay. I recorded it beforehand. Oh. Are you able to hear it? I recorded it beforehand. I don't know why it jumped.
No, we can't hear it. You may just have to
present myself.
Yes.
All right, my name's Grace Hill. I presented my project on the history of the Appalachian mountain ranges as a whole. I did a lot of my research upon the different guides that they gave from the different parks that may take up a lot of the Appalachian Mountains. So for mine, yeah. Oh, geez. Can you hear it now?
Unfortunately, no.
It started playing on my computer. I'm not sure why. Hold on. So when discussing the Appalachian Mountains, I formulated my specific project into a timeline that recorded the events in which they occurred and why they're extremely important to now. It can be tracked down from billions of years to even present day, something as current as present day. And it goes from around southeastern Canada all the way down to Georgia. Okay, let's see. So for the location, the first event that took place is around 1 billion years ago. The location of the supercontinent Rodinia allowed for fragments to be left over in a lot of the outcrops on the mountains itself. It's very recognizable. A lot of these events are very recognizable currently in a lot of the mountains when you travel there. And then due to the expansion of the crust itself, it began to tear and flatten, which formed lower points, which oceans and basins began to form at around 750 million years ago to about 540 million years ago. The specific basin deposited a lot of sediments in the layers, and once sediments solidified and came together, it began to create the mountain range itself. A lot of the finer grained sediments deposited on the lower altitude areas, while the coarser were left near the higher elevations. Let's see. Okay. Oh, wait, hold on. Man. So for the, there's a lot of igneous leftovers from a lot of the volcanoes that formed around that time at around 750 million years ago to 250 million years to 540 million years ago. A lot of fragments and pieces of these volcanoes were left behind, and the volcanoes themselves were fluid and explosive, and the overall leftover can be observed even today. You can find pieces of igneous and rocks. And then, so there was an inland sea formed across the, from Canada all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico at around 480 million years ago. And due to the marine system that overlaid this area, the Western Interior Seaway, a lot of organisms and materials created deposits that formed into limey deposits that formed into limestone itself. And then the breakdown and erosion of these deposits in stone caused for the soil to be enriched. That's why a lot of the greenery around these areas in the Appalachian Mountains were very rich and fertile. And same thing with the agriculture itself of the states. And then at around 470 million years ago to 270 million years ago, there was a continental collision where the motion of the crust began to change and move in opposite directions. The push for the continents to come together caused for a collision, and after the land collided, the oceans receded, which pushed the large rocks to the location of the Appalachian Mountains itself. As the boundaries moved, the rocks began to melt, and a lot of it formed into different rocks, depending on the cooling process that you can still see now. So there's a lot of times where the metamorphic and igneous met with the sedimentary rocks and uplifted, which formed the Blue Ridge Mountains. And then around the same time, at around 270 million years ago, the rocks making up a large majority underwent heat and pressure, which is the process of metamorphosis. And it's very recognizable with the smooth banded rocks that you can find that's different from its surroundings in a lot of areas in the Appalachians themselves. And then there's also fault lines and earthquakes that affected the history of the mountains themselves. Around 270 to present day, there are different earthquakes and faults around those areas, but it's unique because it was much more common those millions of years ago versus now, where it's a lot rarer to find earthquakes in these areas. And so around 3 million years ago, which is a major time jump to the present day, during the major ice ages, the difference between ice and the glaciers would drastically change the climate and the biology living in the region, so like the organisms and the plants. And the erosion because of the water itself being presented. So once the water would enter the crevices in the rocks, it would thaw and freeze back up multiple times, which splits the rocks apart and erodes its integrity physically. And then vegetation can additionally widen the gaps of the rocks, especially with that picture. You can see there's plants coming off the side of the mountain, and it causes a lot of it to be unstable. And then if you just look at the physical history of the Appalachian Mountains themselves, the layout of them were at around 1800s. The search for gold affected, and mining itself affected the geological significance of the mountain ranges. A lot of people came in from across the nation to find these precious metals and stones. And it moved the indigenous groups at the time out west. And travel was also heavily affected by the placement of the mountains, because you had to plan ahead where you were planning to go through the mountains for the low points and the valleys. So both communities, mining, and travel was heavily influenced by the geological history of the mountains. And even today, there are big issues with the different ways to find resources out in the mountains with the history of such. For the mountains themselves, the reason why they're so unique is, and some of the oldest mountains of the time, is because of the extensive billions of years history. And yeah, and then there's, yeah. That was my presentation.
Does anyone have questions you would like to ask?
Oh, escape.
So I don't have any specific questions, but I did want to give you a shout out, because that's a very stressful situation when you think you're going to have your presentation kind of go for you and then just on the fly. I think you did a fabulous job, and I just want to kind of give you some kudos with that. That's a stressful situation. Great job.
I agree. Yeah.
I didn't realize it would do that, obviously.
Okay, so If there are no questions with that one, I'm going to attempt to open Evans. So
Let's see.
bear with me, please.
Hello, everyone. My name is Evan Rodgers, and my research project is titled Carbon Capture Feasibility in North Carolina.
Can you get?
Technological advancements in
We
science.
can't see that, Catherine.
Ways to
Yeah,
address
that's what I was afraid of. Okay. I'm sorry. You can see it just. All right.
Sometimes, Kathy, unsharing your screen like you just did and then sharing it again, and it'll pull it up.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how this process goes. I thought I had it figured out this morning, but I'm a little nervous, so I'm messing this up. So I go to the desktop, but I'm not sure how to pull Evan's video in. So I'm guessing that's still not showing up.
You're not sharing anything at the moment, Kathy.
It's not. Maybe, Kathy, let me see if I can do it really quick. Hold on.
Okay, that would be great.
Can you see it?
See it, can't hear it.
You couldn't hear it when it was being played?
Correct.
I know why. Hold on. Hold on 1 second. It's how it's sharing the sound.
Do I need to? Well, I don't know what I can do.
Well, I don't know. I thought I could switch the sound over, but it seems to be on the right sound. Anybody else have any ideas?
What if you enter full screen and try? Sometimes that makes a difference. Well, there went my idea.
Stephanie, you could also try downloading it off SharePoint and running it from your computer and not off SharePoint.
Is that what you've done, Kathy?
I don't even know. This is the first time I've ever even been in one of these types of things. And I apologize. I thought I had it figured out.
Did you hear that?
No.
Stephanie,
Yes.
try when you're sharing the screen. There's a little button that says "Select Computer Sound."
Was there? Okay.
It may be hidden when you click on that share screen icon, so you may need to scroll up or down to see it. Maybe.
I'm sorry.
Well,
My biggest problem is right now is I can't find the stupid file to share, except for in the email.
and
Hey, Kathy, can I help?
yeah,
Well,
Jackie, I thought I had it all figured out, and it's I'm lost. And
Kathy, you could
Stephanie
probably
has
try
been
the
trying
same
to
thing
help
too.
me.
You could probably try the same thing too, Kathy. If you have it there already, when you click that icon at the top of the screen to share, you should see the items for you to share, whether you want to share the full screen or just a window. But just above it, there's a little button just at the top left that says include computer sound. So if that's not checked, it's probably not going to play the sound.
Yeah, I got to this point, but for whatever reason, I can't get his, I'm having a problem getting his actual speech into this.
Right. So what we decided you had to do was you have to open up his file on your computer, and then you have to share under desktop. You're going to share your desktop and play the screen from your desktop. Okay. So now open up his video.
Hello, everyone. My name is Evan Rodgers, and my research project is titled Carbon Capture Feasibility in North Carolina.
So are you guys hearing that?
Yes.
Okay.
Technological
wanna maximize
advancements
it.
in science have given us multiple ways to address an ever-increasing concentration of atmospheric carbon, with the ultimate goal to mitigate climate change. To put it simply, carbon capture, utilization, and storage is the process of extracting carbon from the atmosphere and either putting it to use or finding a permanent home for it. My goal with this research project was to determine the feasibility of storing captured carbon in North Carolina's geological makeup. I first researched methods in which sequestered carbon is stored in the earth, depleted oil and gas reserves, unminable coal beds, saline aquifers, and sedimentary basins all have potential. However, when storing CO2 in a gaseous state, there's a risk of leakage back into the atmosphere or into potable water systems. For example, to store gaseous CO2 in a sedimentary basin, the site would require a capstone greater than 1,000 meters thick, and the site would also have to be in a stable environment with no faults or fractures. Another method has proven to be stable permanent storage facility for carbon capture is basalt. Basalt is a porous rock formed from the rapid cooling of mafic lava along mid-oceanic ridges. I then researched companies successfully carrying out carbon storage operation and what their geological makeup looked like. One of the most successful companies in this endeavor is Carbfix. Based in Iceland, they have been capturing CO2 from the emission source, dissolving it in water and injecting the basalt back into the basalt rock formation. Within 2 years, the carbonated water reacts with the basalt, forming calcium carbonate. The benefit of this reaction and phase change prevents the carbon from resurfacing back into the atmosphere or contaminating fresh water supplies. After having familiarized myself with these methods, I then took a look at the geological makeup of North Carolina. My research concluded that North Carolina is not an ideal location for carbon capture storage because its geological composition does not contain basalt and there are no depleted oil and gas reserves. Further research on North Carolina's saline aquifers, sedimentary basins, and unminable coal beds for storage compatibility should be considered if implementing carbon capture technologies here. Thank you.
All right. Sorry for so much confusion. Uh-oh.
The rectangle box.
Well, I'm excited that we got to hear Evan's elevator speech. He worked really hard on this. It was a lot of information. I'll turn it on really quick and talk for him.
Okay.
A lot of information that he had to pull from because he is not a geology student and he was working on a project that entailed a lot of geology. So not only was he looking at carbon capturing, but he had to very quickly learn about what was going on in North Carolina as far as the geology.
Cool. All right. Well, again, I apologize for the chaos. And there's a link there I put the link to there is a link for the next session right here. And hopefully the rest of your day will go well.
Thanks, Kathy.